You heard about the world global prices going skyrocketing. In Kenya, people are suffering. You know this, as we are. What would you do if you were in President Ruto's place?
Thank you, Jeff. First of all, it wouldn't get here because I would not get into some silly, opaque agreement that purportedly is G2G and it isn't. I will not engage and allow cartels to operate in the oil sector as they are operating right now, clearly driven by vested interests by the ruling elite. And my challenge has always been to these wonderful people in the administration. If they think everyone else is wrong in raising issues about the agreements they have signed, why don't they publish it? I don't understand why we sidestepped NOC to go into these agreements with private companies. I don't understand why the loading bay for Gulf oil at industrial, I'm told, is side by side or next to NOC. I don't understand how we got here in the first place. NOC was created specifically to address these issues of mediating and stabilizing the oil marketing sector in times like this. So I honestly cannot blame the challenges we are facing right now on what's going on in the Middle East. Some of this is man-made. It's because of how we are engaging and how we are dealing with that sector as it is. I was in government in 2021 during the Ukraine-Russia challenge, and that time the global prices had gone to about 150 per barrel. I remember very, very, very clearly President Kenyatta struggling with the IMF and the other people to insist on subsidies to stabilize the prices at that particular time. It was justifiable, but although there have been fluctuations recently, quite frankly, I think in the Middle East right now are an excuse rather than the real reason why we have the
But colleague, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, has said that he's giving the government a 7-day ultimatum to lower fuel prices, and if not, he'll call for demonstrations, nationwide protests. How is that going to help?
Well, it's to force the government to come to their senses and do what they have to do. You know, a lot of the information that is hidden about this, for a long time, by the way, Chair, I need to say this, members of the public have been calling for transparency and accountability in the manner in which this matter is being handled in the oil sector. And a lot of things in the economy. You know, you wake up in the morning and you're told 6.5 billion has disappeared from incident. 20 billion has disappeared from the school bursary fund. 50 billion has disappeared from where? I mean, it's like a chronicle of hell. Every day you wake up, nobody is able to explain exactly what's happening. Demonstrations are supposed to call government to account. And unless the government really is going to be more accountable, more transparent in dealing with these issues, this is what they're going to continue to face. And I don't see why they will have to wait to face this when they need to be transparent and explain, for example, this so-called G2G agreement. What is this all about? And own up to the mistakes that have been done. And then last week, when we had a press conference as leaders of the opposition, and I said this, I wasn't surprised, but if I was in government, I would be worried today. The amount of information that is being shared by public officers and government officials who are completely sick, tired, and frustrated by the way things are being done. Don't forget one thing, that when things happen the way they're happening, Jeff, the Kenyan worker is the one who's paying the highest possible price in all this. Look at the taxation left, right, and center, and the dwindling earnings. The pay slip means nothing. The lives of all workers in Kenya, whether they are in the public service or outside of it, is almost hell. I am not surprised that they are now cooperating with the opposition. They are giving information that we need and that we should know. They are putting this information out. So the government should step up and be more transparent and accountable about this. Where is the 30 billion shillings cumulatively? The calculations are done by public servants and people in the oil sector about how much money has been made by individuals or people in the administration as a result of this G2G agreement. The government come clean about this matter and be transparent about it. That is how they will stop this. The demonstrations are and should force government to be much more accountable, much more transparent, and look for solutions. They are the ones in office. The president keeps saying every day, we are doing nothing. We are not in government. Let us be given a budget and let them leave so that we take that responsibility and we will not make excuses. We'll do what is supposed to be done.
You think you'll be able to make a difference?
Absolutely.
From high fuel prices, for instance?
As I said, for example, in fact, it's something I'll do immediately. If I became president tomorrow, I'll reform and restore the role of NOC. You see, under the statute and by practice, NOC would import, buy, and keep reserves for 90-day cover and cushion the country from, fluctuating oil prices and so on. 2, you will avoid and reduce the behavior of cartels, because like any sector in the economy, it will always be infiltrated by cartels. And you can't stop cartels in any sector if you yourself are part of that cartel. Because most of these cartels, when you look at the behavior, when we went through the paperwork that was brought to us last week as opposition, it's astounding that, even in the tendering process itself, some of these companies that were finally awarded submitted their bids way after the deadline. In other words, laws and regulations, even on tendering, are broken left, right, and center because those companies enjoy patronage by those in the administration or by those in power and leadership. Absent of a transparent and effective way of management, Jeff, we are going to be spending all our time on very nonsensical public relations exercise. And that is why, as for me, the next general elections are not ordinary elections. They're not a question of going to the ballot and seeking leaders. We are not seeking to replace these current leaders so that I sit there and continue doing the things that the current leader is doing, so that I go to start eating from where he has left. There's got to be real change, and change to be felt, and change to be experienced by the people of Kenya. If we are not going to do that, then honestly, we would rather not even get involved in what we are doing. It's just a waste of time. Yeah. This country needs fixing, and we know the challenges of this country. Let us be very forthright about them. Let's go straight forward those challenges and resolve the challenges. They can be dealt with. They can be resolved. There are many times in the past when, for example, I was in government. In 2015, 9 out of 10 people I spoke told me it's very difficult to fight examination cheating. The cartels are established. They go after everybody. Yeah. Sometimes they are very well connected in various levels of government and so on. And I discovered it's not the case. And we faced down with them and cleaned up the sector. And in the process discovered that most Kenyans actually want a fair system of management that works for all of them. They want a fair shot. Most Kenyans are interested in systems that work. What they lack in most cases is trustworthy leadership. People they can trust.
You were the